how Queen Mary famously taught her ladies-in-waiting to use rope to stop their arms flapping about like windmills.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 royal family rules that were changed.
Diana had broken the rules and won.
Your Grace.
Your Royal Highness.
I met her and apparently I did a very deep curtsy.
For this list, we'll be looking at the British royal family's rules, customs, and unofficial protocols that have reportedly changed over the years. What do you think of these rules? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Giving candid interviews.
There has not been an agreement. You don't know what I'm going to ask.
No.
And there is no subject that's off limits.
For most of the history of the British royal family, members did not give interviews to journalists. In fact, the first televised one took place relatively recently, when Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, spoke to the BBC in 1961.
Tonight on Meet the Press, we have a very special guest indeed, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh.
Even then, the topics were quite measured. It was really Princess Diana's 1995 conversation with Martin Bashir that paved the way for more candid interviews to come.
I think every strong woman in history has had to walk down a similar path, and I think it's the strength that causes the confusion and the fear.
She spoke about their marriage and expressed some less than flattering sentiments about the royal family, shocking the nation in the process. Since then, it has still been rare for senior royals to give video interviews, with the most memorable recent instance, of course, being Harry and Meghan's sit-down talk with Oprah in early 2021. Number 9. Marrying divorcees.
You will not separate or divorce or let the side down in any way. And if one day you expect to be king,
I do.
then might I suggest you start to behave like one.
Anyone with any cursory knowledge of the British royal family knows that one of the biggest scandals in the history of the institution came about when King Edward VIII, later known as the Duke of Windsor, abdicated the throne in the name of love.
I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility and to discharge my duties as king as I would wish to do, without the help and support of the woman I love.
You see, he had fallen for a woman with several strikes against her. She was American, she was a non-royal, and she was about to be divorced for the second time. He had to give up his position in order to marry her. Today, of course, things have changed. After divorcing Diana, Charles went on to wed a once-divorced Camilla. Meanwhile, though it may have still been seen as controversial by some for Prince Harry to marry a divorced woman, there was no official rule preventing it.
I, Meghan, take you, Harry.
To be my husband.
To be my husband.
Number 8. Signing autographs. This one isn't necessarily a rule that's been changed, but rather a rule that has been broken, or bent. Members of the royal family are famously forbidden from signing autographs as a security measure to prevent their handwriting from being replicated. On a visit to Wales in the late 2010s, however, Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex-to-be, reportedly skirted around the rule for a fan named Caitlin Clark. Rather than giving her signature, she simply wrote, "Hi Caitlin." Considering the fact that it's easy to find images of the royal signatures online, this rule definitely seems dated anyway. Number 7. Presenting debutantes. Many of the abandoned royal traditions on our list today were ditched in more recent decades, but this one was axed by Queen Elizabeth herself within the first decade of her long reign. Starting in 1780, debutantes, young women from the higher classes deemed ready to enter society, would present themselves to the royal family as part of the formal coming out process.
For today is the day London's marriage-minded misses are presented to Her Majesty the Queen.
The last such ceremony took place in 1958, after Queen Elizabeth's advisors cautioned that it was no longer a good look for the royal family's image. Considering the changing role of women in society, this was definitely a step in the right direction. Number 6. Childcare expectations.
Diana caused a huge sensation in Australia when she and Charles went there, taking William for their first official tour. William was just beginning to crawl, so he was about 9 months old.
Up until the 1980s, senior members of the royal family had quite formal relationships with their children, at least in public. They engaged nannies to do much of the day-to-day work and left them behind when traveling internationally. When Princess Diana gave birth to William, however, everything changed.
Diana's next tussle with tradition came when she insisted on taking a 9-month-old William on a royal tour.
She decided to parent in a new way, famously bringing him on a tour of Australia when he was a toddler, and making him the first royal heir to be educated outside the palace from a young age. She was also publicly more warm and affectionate with both William and Harry, changing the face of royal parenting and passing on the tradition to her own children. Number 5. Asking for the Queen's permission to marry.
I was prepared to go through it all and support you as a sister because I'd given you my word.
The Royal Marriages Act of 1772 stipulates a number of rules regarding marriages in the British royal family. Prior to 2013, when the Succession to the Crown Act was enacted, all members of the royal family had to formally request the Queen's permission when they wanted to get married.
I cannot allow you to marry Peter and remain part of this family. That is my decision.
This amendment restricted the list of people to just the first 6 people in the line of succession. That's why Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie did not require the Queen's approval for their own nuptials. Still, the rule is largely a formality, and there is one recorded instance of a British sovereign denying an official request to marry. Number 4. Marrying non-royals. It's easy to forget that many royal marriages used to have political goals, uniting countries and aiding in international alliances. Today, it has become acceptable for members of the British royal family to marry non-royals, as seen with both Princes William and Harry.
There's power in love to help and heal when nothing else can.
1937 marked the first time in British history that a senior royal married a commoner, when King Edward VIII wed American Wallis Simpson. Of course, he was forced to abdicate the throne due to his decision, and it wasn't until 1960 that it occurred again when Princess Margaret married Anthony Armstrong Jones.
Your father would have been proud.
Number 3. Bowing for the Queen.
Are you my wife or my queen?
I'm both.
I want to be married to my wife.
I am both, and a strong man will be able to kneel to both.
I will not kneel before my wife.
Your wife is not asking you to.
But my queen commands me.
Yes.
I beg you make an exception for me.
No.
According to the royals themselves, quote, "There are no obligatory codes of behavior when meeting the Queen or a member of the royal family, but there have still been plenty of unofficial protocols in place over the years. It was once considered essential to either bow or curtsy to the Queen, but now that's more of a gentle suggestion."
He says, okay, well, my grandmother's there, so you're gonna meet her. Oh, great. I loved my grandmother. I used to take care of my grandmother. This is great. He goes, right, do you know how to curtsy?
The royal family does, however, stipulate how to properly address the Queen. When presented to the Queen, address her as Your Majesty, and any following address can be simply ma'am.
President first, President first.
Your Majesty.
No curtsy. No curtsy.
For male members of the family, it's suggested to use Your Royal Highness and then Sir.
Good evening, Your Royal Majesty.
Oh, dear.
Number 2. No touching. For a long time, it was considered unacceptable to touch, other than through a handshake, any member of the royal family. A tradition with some interesting roots. Historian Kate Williams says, quote, "Monarchs were divinely appointed to rule by God, so they were kind of seen as gods, so they demanded to be treated as gods."
Wrap her up like this, anoint her with oil, and hey presto, what do you have? A goddess.
In recent years, however, there have been several breaches of protocol, like when Michelle Obama put her arm on the Queen's back, or LeBron James casually putting his arm around Kate Middleton. Realistically, however, the change has been slowly taking place over time, with one major advancement occurring when Princess Diana had physical contact with AIDS patients during a time when it was still considered a controversial behavior.
She met the staff and the 9 patients and shook hands with them all.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Rule of Succession. One of the most significant changes to royal family rules was a major step in the right direction in terms of gender equality. For centuries of British rule, male heirs were prioritized in the line of succession regardless of age. For example, an older sister would be passed over and the crown would be given to her younger brother.
Well, it's true, isn't it? Fourth in line now, and by the time William's had children, his children have had children. Fringe.
This all officially changed in 2015 when the Succession to the Crown Act came into force, though Parliament had actually passed amendments to the acts in 2013. The changes meant the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's firstborn would be third in the line of succession, regardless of the child's biological sex. Of course, they ultimately had a son. This also means Prince George's sister, Princess Charlotte, is fourth in line to the throne, while younger brother Prince Louis is fifth.
God bless you all. God save the king.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.